Greetings, I am Samael the Reaper, and you're listening to the Dragon Between podcast, a 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons campaign set in the Eberron pulp fantasy setting by Keith Baker. New episodes are recorded every Sunday and released on the following week. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel for clips and future episodes. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter for updates and news on the podcast. Thanks for listening, and remember, I'm watching you.
When last we met, the characters had found themselves transported past the astral plane to a place known as Zoriat, the realm of madness. The group found themselves transported along with the two-story bookstore owned by Uza Zolisef. As they began to get their bearings, they realized that something was not quite right and a bit off with their surroundings. The party realized very quickly that gravity held less than what they were used to, and that the exterior beyond the building was an alien landscape filled with strange vegetation. The party also realized that strange things began happening with their compatriots Siegfried and Samael, as Siegfried suddenly sprouted a double, and Samael began looking more and more like a ram with a flaming skull. As the group headed outside, following the sounds of a man screaming, running into the thicket beyond, they looked back to watch as the two-story shelf was sucked down into the membranous ground that they stood on, and gone out of sight after a few moments. The party headed after the sounds of the man's yelling, with Byron leading ahead, and found themselves upon a clearing where the man was being feasted on by strange creatures. The group caught the creatures by surprise, and a battle began, nearly dropping 2 members of the group. As the party collected themselves and picked themselves off, they realized that they were beginning to sink into the membranous level that they were on, and began moving forward again towards what appeared to be a wispy curl of smoke in the distance, the only sign of life within this landscape. As the party moved on, they found themselves at a strange circular hut shaped like a cone, with the clear signs of a fireplace stoked inside. They approached the domicile and found it contained a sprout, gray-skinned man with a long white beard, who called himself Thaco Gygax. This man told him that he had been in this place for 6 months, and that his previous companions had all gone mad and attempted to kill him. But he defended himself, and defended them off. The party were allowed to rest themselves, and dealt with more strange situations as Siegfried's double became a triple, and then a 4th, and then a 5th appearing, each becoming more and more hostile towards other members of the group. And Samael continued to show the outward appearance of a ram skull, with the fiery flames, and soon ceased to look human at all, or elf in his case. The party kept watch and waited a full, long rest until the next morning. Having personal experiences dealing with various premonitions and strange sights before their eyes. The next morning, the man known as Thaco Gygax asked the party if it would be all right if they could take some of his roommates, creatures known as symbionts, with them in their travels. He told them that he would lead them to the only known way out of this place, an old way station, a portal. 3 of the members agreed and bonded with 3 of the symbionts, and the party headed on following after Gygax as he led them to a vale. On the edge of the vale, Gygax warned them that once they opened the portal, they would come. And by they, he referred to the nightmarish aberrations that lived in this realm. The brilliant light sprouted forth as Gygax activated the portal, sending the party to the only location that he could. And just before they left, Gygax asked for one favor from the paladin, that he end his suffering, as he himself had been infested with symbionts for quite some time. Samael obliged, and as he disappeared into the portal after his friends, Gygax fell to the membranous ground, quite dead. The party found themselves zapped across the plains and inside of a circular room in the midst of a teleportation circle. They saw a floating, four-tentacled aberration that greeted them warmly, asked them a few questions, and stalled them just long enough for an unknown wizard to show up and begin speaking to them. The wizard asked them about their travels and how they managed to make it to this teleportation circle since it was locked. The party explained that they had opened a book, which this wizard, who identified himself as Manchun, explained that that book had not been seen in over 16,000 years. Inquired about the book's whereabouts, and the party wasn't quite sure at first, but Samael presented the book and said, "Here, I have it." The wizard asked for it, which Samael gladly gave. And the party was zapped away in an instant as the man raised one gauntleted hand and snapped his fingers. The party instantly found themselves standing in front of the crater that was once Uza Zolasev's bookstore. As they each got their bearings, yet again, their stomachs twisting from yet another teleportation, the familiar sight of the flying sky coach, led by Mr. R, landed, and he began speaking to the party, informing them of the various going on in the city. The party now stands in front of this crater, watching as the Mr. R enthusiastically shakes each one of their hands. "Oh, it's so good to see each and every one of you. My goodness, it's been forever. Forever and a day, it feels like."
Oh, Mr. R, it's so good to see you as well. Really, we weren't sure how long we'd be. She kind of looks towards the where the bookstore was. Damn, that is unfortunate. It must have cost that woman so much money. Oh well.
Zara, as you stare over to the crater, you notice that the ground where the bookstore once was is a circular pattern, and the ground that was underneath the base of the building itself is a bit of a spiraling swirl heading towards the center.
Zara goes and walks towards it.
Mr. R turns and he looks and he says, "Well, you have all been gone for so very long. To be quite honest, I wasn't sure if I'd ever see you again."
Yeah, we got held up a bit, but we're fine.
"Oh, but it's been nearly a month, sir."
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not anything we really could have done about that. It could have been much, much longer if we hadn't moved when we did.
I completely understand. Things of an untoward nature have gone on in your absence. There was a memorial held for you.
Was it pretty?
Oh yes, it was quite the turnout. Various nobles showed up. I believe Chancellor Hoot, I think his name is. He said a few words. The local gosh, what are they called again? The volunteers, the volunteer group that have been helping out over in High Walls, giving food and clothing to the poor and the needy. I believe they're called the Followers of the White. They helped with the arrangements and setting everything up, at no cost whatsoever.
You guys ever wish you could, have seen your own funeral? Or was that just me?
And I believe it was written. It was in the paper, if I'm not mistaken.
What else went on, Mr. R? Anything that we need to know about?
Oh well, of course, what I mentioned about the cat. That would be the most pressing issue, I suppose, for Sir Byron. I have been looking though. Every day I've been looking for the cat. I have not found it yet.
When was it last seen?
Well, you see, Sir Rainier, he hired these workers to help out with the renovations. And one day, one of the men accidentally left the door open, and next thing you know, the cat was gone.
One simple thing. Fix it.
But I'm sure he's all right. That little critter is a hearty one. It killed every single rat in the place.
How are the renovations going? Are they complete?
Oh yes, they're 100% complete. Sir Rainier, he was quite adamant, with a bit of coaxing from an interested party, they were able to complete all the renovations, and he's just been waiting for all of you. It's funny, he was the one that told me to come here right this moment, actually. Just as you arrived, he told me you would be here.
And that's what Rainier said.
Am I able to get Linda off the phone?
You still have your sending stone, I believe.
Yes, I attempt to use it.
The sending stone warms in your hand, and you suddenly hear the sounds of what sounds like people milling about, and papers being moved, and books being opened and shut violently. And you hear someone in the background yelling, "I don't care how long it takes. We're going to make sure that this expedition is ready to go by the end of the month. You, Linda, that stone thingy is buzzing over there. You might taking that outside, please. It's very annoying." Of course, right away. And you hear the familiar sound of Linda getting closer to the stone. Hello?
Linda, it's me.
Who? Who?
It's only been a month.
Byron. They told me that you were alive, but I shouldn't have doubted, but it's been 25 days.
and I've been gone longer. Why don't we meet?
Well, of course, I have things that I need to take care of here at the university, but I can meet you later on today if you like.
Sounds great. Give me a call when you're ready.
I will.
Am I overhearing that?
Well, you can make a perception check.
Okay. Perception. 9. Well, 13.
You're able to get the gist of the conversation, and you heard something about 25 days.
Did I hear her specifically say someone told her we were alive, or no?
Yes.
Byron, do you mind if I ask?
What is it, Zara?
And Linda, who told you we were still alive?
Oh, it was gosh, it was someone from the council. They sent a gentleman, I don't remember his name, but he came and he told me a few weeks ago that, and while we had planned the memorial and we were taking donations, they told us that the donations were no longer necessary because you had been found and that you would be back.
Really?
Yes,
Interesting.
it was a very, very tall gentleman.
Is it one
Thank
of
you.
George's friends?
I believe, oh gosh, what was his name? I think he said his name was Rainier?
Okay, good.
Yes, I've actually, I had a few conversations with him. He sent me correspondence. He said something about the manor would be ready to go when you came back. It's all very confusing. I mean, what? I'm sure that we'll have time to talk about it later, but where have you been?
That's a long, long story.
Well,
We missed a lot, so why don't we meet up at the manor later?
of course, it's in Troll Skull, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I
Just
will
down from my parents' house.
I will meet you there.
Good, good.
All right. Goodbye, my love. I will talk to you later.
Bye, my dear. I'll hang up and, well, Rainier seems to have a lot of answers that, we may need to know.
Who would like to make a perception check for me?
Me, because I'm in the back brooding.
Natural one.
Okay.
That's a classic.
I would say that with the highest perception in the group, let's see who that is. That's hilarious.
Yes, with a 16 passive, I rolled a natural 1.
So both Byron and Zara, as you're looking around the people milling about, intentionally avoiding this crater area, that it's not cordoned off. There's nothing blocking people from walking into this circular depression with this spiral pattern. About a dozen yards away, you both spot a diminutive female dwarf leaning against the wall. And you see a squat, roughly almost 3 foot tall, robed individual standing next to her. And they both seem to be staring in your direction. And we'll go ahead and start. Brunhild, would you like to describe yourself?
I'm short, loud. I don't really know how else to describe myself.
Well, like, what color is your hair? What kind of like armor? You're wearing a certain kind of armor. What color is it? You can just make stuff up top of your head if you want. You can describe what kind of weapon you're hefting in your hand.
I have a hammer. I have light hair. It's kind of reddish. I'm short. I'm big. And I have a beard.
Okay. And Zebo, would you like to describe yourself?
Zito is a small kobold. Well, if you can see it, his skin is like a burnt orange color. On the top of his head, there is a row of horns that are probably about an inch long each, and they would start from the base of his snout, and they would go up to the top of his head and over the back.
Okay.
Yes, in his hand he carries a rod, on which would be about normal size for a human, but given on his short stature, he's wielding as if it was an actual staff.
Okay.
Says, "Are you sure these are the guys?"
I'm pretty sure.
I don't know, I just think they're a bunch of passers-by.
We could always ask.
Is that one looking at us?
Maybe. Wink at it.
I'll wink at Siegfried.
Siegfried's looking
But
at the
it turns-
ground. He don't see shit.
That's the point. But it turns out he's just kind of growling at you.
Zara sees the two figures.
They look awful
Looking.
interested in us.
And she kind of walks towards their direction. Oh, hello.
Hey, you must be Sarah, right?
Close. Zara, actually. Can we help you?
Is that your group over there? 'Cause I've read all about them. It was Sylvester and Brian and Ned and Samuel.
Oh, you must have heard about us in the papers.
Yeah, I read all about it.
And, you, sir, who you are?
I'm Zito. Says, I was sent here by my master. Yes, she would like to speak with you. Her name is Keller Zahar, or I'm sorry, Bazar.
Oh,
She heard about the incident with the bookstore and would like to speak to you about that.
interesting. How did she know that we would be here? Or that we would be alive?
Well,
Zeta.
as I said, she's the High Wizard, and she has magic that even I can understand yet.
Yeah, we aren't very sure, but I'm sure if you come with us, she'll be more than happy to tell you.
Would you guys like a little cake? She pulls out 2 little cakes out of her backpack and just offers it to them.
What is that?
It's a little cake. Actually from Byron's mother made them for Nick and my anniversary. And she looks back at Nick and kind of goes,
Is it meat flavored?
actually it's more of a sweet treat.
No, I'm sorry. I have to decline. I've been kind of recently.
Cedar will take his and her share of the cakes, and he'll try one of them.
Zito, as you begin pulling the cake up to your mouth, you hear a strange noise of flapping and honking overhead. And as you look up just in time to see a hippogriff take a dump right above you. And it begins falling towards you. Make a dexterity save. You are completely covered head to toe in hippogriff dung. But surprisingly, the cake is completely untouched by the dung. You were holding it out in your hand.
Oh, well, that's just lucky. That's just my luck.
It really is.
They ought to have laws against that.
I'll take a bite of the cake anyways. I need something sweet.
The cake is absolutely delicious, and the sugar within it, it overwhelms your senses for a moment. It's like in your head, you just get this thought of, too sweet, too sweet.
Well, I'd love to introduce you guys to the group. What were your names?
I'm Zito.
I'm Brunhild.
Brunhild, Zeta, nice to meet you. I think you guys got the names wrong. I'm sorry. They messed up our names in the paper. This is my husband, Nick, or Nicholas.
Yo.
Hi.
This is Samael, not Samuel. Yeah, don't call.
Greetings. I am Samael, the Reaper.
I like your name.
I do too.
Are you a farmer?
Yes, in a way.
He farms souls.
Alright, we'll get to that later, Nicholas. And this is Siegfried. And Byron.
I like both those names and the one they gave y'all in the paper.
Siegfried looked at him sideways, a bit annoyed. Hello, Cheeto and Broomhole.
Zito will look around.
I look straight at
Who are you?
Siegfried with a big goofy grin.
As you're looking around, Zito, you don't notice the fifth member of their group that Zara mentioned.
You said that Byron was here. I don't see him anywhere.
Oh, he's here somewhere. That's just him. He likes to stay out of the... I mean, as in... out of the light. Like, he just, likes to take in his surroundings cautious.
He knows where he's needed.
I don't like standing in bright light either.
But why don't we get out of here and go do something about that?
Well,
Yes, my master would very much like to see if you would like to follow me.
As you say that, Zito, both you and Brunhild notice that the Sybaris dragon shards set in your signet rings begin flashing. And you hear a humming noise. Almost sounds like a bird. And then you hear a voice come through, emanating from the stone, as if it were enchanted. And you hear, Brunhild, Zito, have you located those mercenaries yet?
Yes, we're bringing them back right now.
Splendid.
Yep, we sure are.
Splendid. Bring them to Mithra Towers in Central Plateau at once.
No problem.
And the sound cuts out, and the glowing orange light that was emanating from the dragon shard stones fades.
Well, guys, if y'all are looking for something to do, we should probably go ahead and start introducing y'all to our leader.
Zara looks over at Nick and Samael. What do you guys think? I mean, it would be nice to get some out.
I grow impatient. Let's be on with it.
Alright.
I'll follow you.
I'm gonna yell out really loud. Brian, we're leaving.
And it's Brian. Byron, not Brian.
You hear the sound of
Oh, there you are.
Byron's voice. As you turn around, Byron materializes from a shadow where once no one was there. He materializes in front of you as he steps out of the shadow.
I knew I'd have to bait you out. There was no way I was gonna find you.
Oh, I'm always behind you. I always have your back.
With skills like that, it's a good thing we're friends. All right, let's go.
All right, let's go.
Excuse me. Mr. R coughs a few times, which is funny to you all because Warforged don't breathe. He makes a coughing noise and looks at each of you and he says, will you be needing my services? If not, I will return to the manor and give water and food to the horses.
Do you know where the mental tower is?
Oh, of course.
Can you fit 7 in your wagon?
Oh, well, of course, sir. And you watch where once before he took his cane and tapped the stagecoach to cause it to magically expand and become larger. You watch as he, in very quick succession, snaps 3 times. And on the 3rd time, you watch as the sides of it almost seem to ripple like liquid and stretch out. I had a few upgrades. I've been saving my gold, and an artificer and a damn good one was able to, what is the term, hook me up. So now I can just call upon it to become bigger and smaller at will. I even, if you permit me for a moment, I haven't done this since I first had it activated. And he puts his hand up to his mouth, and he makes the sound of a whistle, even though he doesn't have lips. And the carriage immediately goes from its elongated size down to its regular size, and then shrinks down to the size of the palm of your hand. And he walks up to it, and the 2 Pegasi have shrunk with the carriage to the size of rats. And he picks them up, carriage in one hand, Pegasi in the other, and they each one begin flapping their wings and flying around. You hear this tiny little whinnying noise. It's pretty spectacular, isn't it?
That's pretty awesome.
I know.
You know,
I don't have to store them outside anymore. I don't need to. I've actually I made a little box for them. It's amazing.
you know, I've seen a lot of things in my travels, but I think that your carriage is probably the greatest artifact I've ever seen.
Nick, please. I want one for our anniversary. Please get.
I mean, it's just some rudimentary enchantments. I can work something up like that.
Yeah, Nick, go ahead and buy her one.
Oh.
One day. We'll get there one day.
Like next week.
Enough of this swooning. Don't we have places to be?
Oh yes, Siegfried, you're right. All right, let's Mr. R, you take the.
Well, of course, my lady. And he sets the carriage down on the ground, and the diminutive form of the twin Pegasi fly away from his hand towards the carriage and link up. And he very quickly does 3 sharp and shrill whistles, and with each whistle, the carriage and the Pegasi get a little bit bigger, and then a little bit bigger, and then back to that elongated form that they were before. If you'll all step inside, I'll be happy to take you to Central Plateau.
Siegfried hops up and sits next to Mr. R again, and just kind of gazes into the distance.
It's been a while since I've had someone up here with me. In fact, I think you were the last one, Sir Siegfried.
Yes. So it was.
Zuda will hop and grab the edge of the cart and hoist himself up.
Okay. You find no problem whatsoever. There are little rails and ledges that you can clamber up to get on there. And do the rest of you also follow suit and get aboard?
I've already been aboard.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, Zara kind of grabs Nick's hand and she's like, and she hops on and she's like so excited about this. I mean, big haired / little haired.
The biggest eye, Winnie in anticipation, and as Mr. R looks back to make sure that all of his passengers are safely aboard, launches into the air, up above, flying straight up. I apologize for the fog. It's been nearly a month now, and every single day it just seems to fade in and out. And Siegfried, as you look out, you feel your eyes stung by the wind a bit, and this bit of moisture and mist that clings to your body. Just as Mr. R described, the entire city is blanketed in a thick fog. I don't go nearly as fast as I used to. I've had so many close calls. You remember that one before. They've had carriages crashing into each other. They've had to start installing ever-bright lanterns on the front and on the back.
It's fine, it happens. If anything, this dull, creepy, bad weather kind of represents the soul of the city.
Well, I don't know about all of that, but I sure hope that it fades soon. It's bad for business.
Siegfried just continues to kind of just look out deeply into the fog, lost in thought.
Zito is gripping onto the edge of the seat, not wanting to fall off.
Zara's throwing another lizard over.
And Samael is attempting to stop her.
Make an acrobatics check, Samael. You reach your gauntleted and gloved hand out through the window, and the lizard passes through your fingers. One of its tiny little arms just manages to grab the edge of one of your fingers, and then you watch as the little critter zips off and past you, off into the mist, out of sight.
It's amazing how we can do that to people when it's evil, but we do it to small animals, and it's just a nuisance.
Oh, come on, Samael. It's really not that bad. I used to play with lizards all the time. Like I said, with my brother, who we really still need to meet up with.
I used to play with children also, but I never killed them.
I mean, it's just a lizard.
While they bicker, I'm gonna cast dancing lights in the front so we have a light source blaring off of us as we travel through.
As you strum your lute, there's a amplified sound of the strings, and several globes of light emit and begin circling around you and around the carriage, emitting bright light. Oh, that is wonderful! I should think about upgrading the carriage with something like that.
There should be a very simple procedure with the right artificer. Really, I've been told this loot can be upgraded even further, though no idea how much it would cost or what I would be able to do with it. Though, it all depends. I'll get to it eventually.
And the mist begins to part a little bit as you are drifting up to the central plateau. And you see yourselves getting closer to the multiple towers within the area. And the towers themselves are very ornate and have plateaus and railings that offer panoramic views of the surrounding city. You see people striding along the ever bright lantern streets, and the gracefully arcing bridges. And as you get closer to Mithril Towers, you see large homes showing clear signs of great wealth. And many of the houses look like they are gilded with mithril filigree in places. And you see a large tower in the middle of the district floating. That's Orient Tower. That's where the Order, they train all the wizards, all the hopefuls from the university. It's also, if I'm not mistaken, the home for one of the adventurer guilds. And as the coach flies closer, you notice on the side of the tower a landing platform. And the Pegasi and the carriage come in for a very abrupt landing on the side of the tower. Well, here we are.
Thank you,
Cedo will,
Mr. Odd.
will scurry off with this cart. He hates flying.
I'll get out as well.
And sorry.
And as you begin heading in from the platform, you see a set of double doors that immediately part into a larger chamber. And in the midst of that chamber, you see what appears to be a young woman with chocolate brown skin and shoulder-length curly hair. And she's decked out in sort of a steel gray vestments with a lighter, almost taupe-colored jacket over it. And she's holding a long staff with a hook on the end of it. And as she sees all of you stepping off of the carriage, you can see that she is seated before a pedestal in the midst of the chamber, and she looks in your direction and she beckons with one of her hands for you to come.
Well, what are you waiting for?
Nothing.
all
I
go.
stride right up.
Samael, as you head up into the chamber, you see several robed individuals all milling about the chamber, and the chamber itself stretches up several stories within this tower, up and up and up, a spiraling a spiraling staircase that goes up and up and up all the way to the top. And you just see rows upon rows of books and bookshelves and various diagrams, and you see an enormous floating, what looks to be a draconic skeleton, an entire dragon skeleton suspended in midair several feet up above you. And you see other smaller diminutive forms, what appear to be gnomes and kobolds and even goblins milling about wearing robes. You see many individuals of all different races and creeds, all going about their business. And this woman, who is standing at attention near this pedestal, gestures to you, holding a hand out as you all approach. I am Keller Vizar. I am the High Wizard of Sean. Welcome. Welcome to the Orient Tower.
It's nice to see you again.
And you, Zido, I take it your very short assignment, no pun intended.
That was totally intended.
And Brunhild, I fear that if you're not cracking heads, you're most likely bored. I I apologize for that. A simple fetch mission this was. I have no doubt that you'll have a moment to prove yourself in battle once again soon.
And I look forward to that very moment.
Be careful what you wish for, dear. So, you're the mercenaries from the bookstore.
I wouldn't call us mercenaries. We were there on church business, and I represent the church.
You, I see, the paladin of the Silver Flame, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
I've been in contact with the head of your order, Yathana. She told me all about your mission. It came to my attention when an entire building disappeared from this plane of existence.
Yeah, that tends to draw attention.
I have a few questions for all of you. But first, let's have your names. And
I'm Samael, the Reaper.
Samael. And she looks to each and every one of you.
I'm Zara Highhead.
I'm
Pleased to
Nick.
meet you.
I'm Nick's High Hill. Nice to meet you.
Is there a specific reason you need our name?
Well, I'd like to know who I'm talking to. There's a lot of misinformation these days. The last I heard, you were all called different things. Brunhild has been calling you all different names this entire time now. You're saying your names are Samael and not Samuel, and Zara instead of Sarah. So I'd like to know who I'm talking to.
This is Brian.
Brian?
Byron.
Byron.
Brian.
I'm Brian Summers.
He told me Byron.
Brian.
Zara, make a deception check.
She's very deceptive.
That's
Natural 20! Woohoo!
Apparently the dwarf doesn't remember.
She closes
Brian, why did you lie to me?
Pardon me?
Keller.
And who's this Cheeto?
Keller just sort of closes her eyes and cocks a bit of her head to the side a bit and has a bit of a wry smile and slowly opens her eyes and says, "Very well, Brian. Okay. So I know all about your mission for your order, Samael. I know that you were sent."
You forgot Siegfried. He's back there in the back.
Ah, yes, the one that is glaring at me. You.
Yep.
Your name's Siegfried?
Siegfried just keeps glaring and doesn't even smile.
He's having an off day.
Charming. Well, let's get down to business, shall we? This mission of yours, from what I have heard and what I've seen, seemed to have gone sideways for you. Do you mind explaining to me exactly how a 2-story building was teleported away from this plane of existence?
Siegfried
I'm
now
edge
turns
away
his
from
gaze
Nick.
to
Yeah, I'm edging away from Nick towards the edge of the room.
Keller notices this and looks towards Nicholas.
Hi. I really don't know. I'm not really a magic user. Let's see, I found a key, and I put the key in the lock, and boom, the building went gone.
I think it's called like magic.
What sort of lock?
It was a book.
Okay. And do you have that book with you now?
No, we gave it to a wizard.
You gave it to a wizard.
Yeah, we gave it to a wizard.
Actually,
Siegfried
he
gaze
did
now
ask us
goes-
for us.
Yeah.
Siegfried's gaze goes and now looks towards Semi.
Yes, I gave it to a wizard by the name of Manshun. When we teleported back to our dimension, we showed up in his place of residence, and he seemed very concerned about the book and asked if he could have it. So I gave it to him.
I am aware of this Manshun. You say Manshun currently possesses the book?
Yes, he was very polite about the entire affair.
Well, he is a very polite person. I have not had personal dealings with him, but I have met individuals who work for him or through him, and
I'm sorry to hear that. He has an amazing gauntlet.
yes, I have heard. This book, could you describe it for me?
It was written in Draconic.
It was like a book. Other than when you open it, it teleports you.
What was the name of the book?
Sema, you would remember that written on the very first page in Draconic, it was called the Grimoire of the Ebon Mother.
Ah, I remember now. It was on the inside cover. It said it was called the Grimoire of the Ebon Mother.
Did I hear you
Does that
correct?
name sound familiar?
Did I hear?
Does that name sound familiar to me? Oh, I'm sorry.
You can make a history check. Zito, you have heard.
Oh, that was deceptive.
That was a deception check.
So I pretended like I know what he's talking.
Zito, you have heard of books that are coded in different languages, but the name Grimoire of the Ebon Mother does not sound familiar to you. It sounds to you though like it does sound familiar. Like it sounds like it was a possibly a spell book of some sort.
Let's see.
Keller says the Ebon Mother. You say.
Yes, written plain as day.
It's funny. I've not heard of that name in a long time. The Ebon Mother is the patron of the Gatekeepers, a sect of druids that 10,000 years ago stopped an invasion from the realm of madness. The Ebon Mother herself has not been seen in quite some time.
As in a couple of years, a couple centuries?
Oh, I'd say it was been at least a few millennia.
Well, considering how time passes in that place, I'm pretty sure she's gone by now.
I sincerely doubt that, Samael. There's not much that can kill a dragon.
A dragon?
Yes. The Ebon Mother is a black dragon.
Well, that's intriguing. Why do they call her the Ebon Mother?
I imagine it, being the patron of their order has something to do with the color of her scales. Glossy, ebony-colored scales. If I'm not mistaken,
Yeah,
I
the
believe...
mother part?
I believe the mother, as in, she birthed the gatekeepers. She taught them the ways of druidic magic.
Ah,
Her book, the Grimoire, if I'm not mistaken, was bound in her own skin. It was a tome passed down for the heads of that order, but hadn't been seen in a long time.
about a week ago.
I believe 25 days ago, if I'm not mistaken. That's how long you've been gone?
Yeah, 25 days. Well, I mean, it was just in our possession yesterday, and I'm pretty sure that, Manshun's...
Well, perhaps Manshun will be so kind as to allow us to partner with this book. I imagine he plucked it from your grasp because of how dangerous it is.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say he necessarily plucked it. He was very polite about the entire affair. I wouldn't be surprised if he was willing to work with you on it.
We shall find out. But enough of that. You've all been exposed to a very dangerous place. You have gone beyond the astral plane to a place that has not been coterminous with Eberron in over 10,000 years. There are manifest zones, to be sure, all across Kovere, where creatures from that place are able to infest the world. Aberrations of all kind, they come out of Kyber all the time. I've heard reports of aberrations being seen in the city as of late.
You're going to have to explain some of those words to us. I mean, I understood all of it, but I don't know if all of us might have.
I also have a question regarding that, because I had a strange occurrence there, and I was told some interesting terminology by a weird and possibly insane old person.
Yes, adding on to that, this man seemed to have contact with what was his name? That one wizard fellow. Nick, do you remember?
No, I surprisingly don't.
But something about training up for the war, a new breed of soldiers that were enhanced in a way by those creatures that you speak of, and they had been working on a way to somehow transport them back to this world so they could win the war. But of course, when we got there, we told them that the war was over. It's very odd.
So
I don't know.
You met someone within Zoriat.
Yes.
Very